Hello, viewer. Small editor's note before we start this week's episode. During our recording, we attempted to capture the computer screen so our viewers could watch us build this deck in real time. Unfortunately, that screen recording was corrupted and could not be used. If you wish to see the deck list we eventually get to, it will be listed in the description below. Sorry for the inconvenience.
So how do you want to intro this episode? Because we're shit posting today.
Yeah. Well.
So I have the best way to intro it.
Okay.
So you know how on the show a lot we talk about how Rograkh just has a bunch of bad cards in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if we gave Rograkh a glow up? And instead of it playing like a bunch of bad cards, it played a bunch of good cards.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is an idea that I had based on a Twitter thread that I believe was a bit. So Elder Dragon Highlander of Josh fame of Elder Dragon Highlander was shitposting about Rograkh being the best control commanders because you can turn on your guardianships and swots early and advance your engines and stuff like that. And it kind of got me thinking, like, okay, it'd be kind of fun to actually build Rograkh control, though, right? So, I also figured it'd be fun for you, the Mind Sculptors audience, to watch how Cal and I would brew a deck live,
Yes.
from the ground up. So, what's the good way to start? So here's my idea, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want to just take like Brian Cook's list and then just like duplicate it, right? Yeah.
I have a blank template here.
Yeah, I
have two commanders, and we are starting with like the most. This is a virgin deck right now.
Okay. I also just saw someone comment on our last video mentioning synergies with Silas with the card. This is where the control deck comes in. Ready? The card Encroaching Mycosynth.
Okay. Encroaching. Okay, this one from yeah, okay.
So now
this is our first addition to the deck.
No, you don't have to. This can be sideboard. This can be sideboard.
Are you sure? I think the synergy, Ian.
But it is kind of hot that you can be like, yeah, every turn I'm gonna breach. Like,
yeah. No, I mean, I think that's actually kind of interesting.
To be fair, you should only need to breach once, if I'm being honest.
But the value breach, the synergy.
Okay. So the tweet in question, which I hope we will post as, or at least like put up as a graphic at one point in the episode. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up for us, because that way we could just show it. And you know, because here's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is when you edit a podcast.
Yeah.
And you need to put up, this is something, you know, while you're looking for that, I'm just going to go ahead and let people know how editing works. When you're editing a podcast, I get these comments all the time about how you should put up every single card that you talk about while you're doing it. And the thing about that is that sounds really great until you realize that you, in order to do that, you have to go through your show in real time and stop at every card, pull it in, resize it, do the whole thing, and then hit start again. So it's like however long your podcast is times like 2.5.
Right. And, well, not only that, but you have to go through, right? And so even if you download all the files at once, you have to have an app like Scryfall up, right?
Yep.
You have to download every single image by searching every single image. You have to pull them in. You have to go through the entire episode, make notes of every card you need to reference for the entire thing.
Yep.
Like, that's one of the things that used to take gameplay forever. It would take like 20 hours because I have to do that shit all
the time. Yeah, like and then, you know, it's I mean, that's been my experience editing for, you know, like Scrybabies is the longest part of it is editing, because you go through and you do like 2 passes of it, right? You go through and you do the cards and the life totals all at once. You mix that down and then you go through and then you do all your other cuts. And the longest part of it by like a country mile is the life total and the card pulling part of it, because it's just like, all right, pause. And then if your computer is on one, which mine tends to be more than others, sometimes pausing means that you're just at a like 15-minute break now, because your computer is just like, well, I don't know what to do now. But I guess that's what happens when you're like editing stuff that your machine wasn't really built for.
Yeah, that part is a little bit on you, I think, maybe.
Well, okay. In my defense, 3 years ago when I bought this computer, it was perfect for what I was doing 3 years ago. So, and my brain did not like connect the dots of, oh, I'm now going to be editing 4K video. Maybe this isn't the same.
Up enough, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All that to be said, here is the tweet in question is from Elder Drunken Highlander. And it says, with access to the best control colors and the ability to enable all its free interaction from turn 1 onwards with Rograkh, it's hard to match the power of Rogsai when it comes to slowing down the game and creating your window. Grixis control is real. Hashtag cEDH. Hashtag control winner.
I also do want to see, you can see my...
The very first... Also, Cicada, no, don't bite. Don't bite.
Wait. Okay, anyways, we don't have to talk about your reaction to it. So, with that tweet, right, we are taking this concept that's been...
We're taking the bait.
Right? We're taking the bait and we're actualizing it. So the first thing is you're turning on all your free interaction, right? So what free interactions turned on? So we got to add Fierce, SWAT, and Rograkh, right? Because it's a control deck.
Yep. SWAT. SWAT.
SWAT.
SWAT.
Oh, Miri has objections.
Miri was not a fan of SWAT.
Yeah. He's like, what's Cal doing?
SWAT. My dog's also looking at me like, dude, what the fuck?
So let's say we're a control deck, so we will need more lands than the usual Rogsai. But for now, let's start it with let's start it with my standard, which is I always add 29 of an island to my deck.
Okay, so here's where we're going to differ here.
Yeah.
I start with 30.
Oh, yeah, that's too much.
Well, sure, but here's the process. You start. I always say it's easier to start to overshoot and scale back than it is to undershoot and then try and scale up.
Okay.
So I always start at 30, and if I'm like, I'm running a lot of like fast mana, or I'm noticing like my curve is lower, okay, I can pull land out. I can go down to like 28 or 29 or whatever. But I always start at 30 because it's a nice round number. It's pretty reasonable start, and
sure,
whatever. Also, point out Dan Mumford, Basic Islands, only way to go.
Okay. So then let's let our card advantage engines, right? Because that's the one thing, especially in a control deck. Here's the ones that I think are like the most necessary. We have Aristic, obviously. We have Mystic Remora, right? I think it's pretty easy to say that the One Ring makes the cut here. And to me, Talion feels like pretty obvious.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be some... Oh my God, you're so cute. Sorry. Spit a little paw on me like she's the person in the painting. Anyways. The things that are sticking out to me are going to be like, what other card advantage engines can you get? I'm like, what's one of the best control finishers for me is like Consecrated Sphinx, right? Like, so I'm down to just like go crazy.
Okay.
I think as far as like if your commander makes a ton of mana, which on paper Rogsai does, right? I think we want to have like just back up a Consecrated Sphinx. Let's control deck. Let's go. If we're going true control.
Okay.
You're getting skeptical. I see you're getting skeptical. I need you to chill out maybe a little bit.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
You know, I'm
All
just
right.
trust the process.
Yeah. All right. So I think the artifacts are next, right?
Yeah. So this is where I usually I feel like it's very easy. We just come in here and it's just Chromox,
Yep.
Mox Diamond,
Mm-hmm.
all the good ones, Jeweled Lotus.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to point out for
Jewel Lotus probably not for this deck.
I still think I don't know. I'll put it in the sideboard. It's one of those things where Jeweled Lotus is one of the cards where, especially, so here's my case for Jeweled Lotus, especially if we're doing a control Rog side deck, is the deck is going to, even more than a normal Rog side deck, right, is going to be very dependent on Rograkh. And so reliably having Rograkh out and being able to bring it back out is going to be like pretty important. So Jeweled Lotus helps keep that piece on the battlefield pretty consistently.
Okay.
That is a piece that I would say I'd kind of bring from like my experience playing like Lavinia, right? Is on paper, it's like, oh, well, you know, Lavinia's 2 mana, it doesn't really do much, but it's just like the consistency of having.
Yeah, I don't know if
so
I agree with that, but I'm happy to sideboard it for now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get the other staples in here. We're talking about Soul Ring, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt.
Yep.
Mox Opal.
This is like really nice that you're able to play a control deck that can play Mox or Mox Amber, which I think like not enough people understand is like kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. That's why like Thrasios plus Mox Amber is like so good.
Opal.
Soul Ring.
Mana Vault. Soul Ring. I'm literally just have my Tivit list up and I'm just like, what are the...
Well, let's wait on the 2 mana rocks because I'm actually curious if we need those.
Okay.
And then, so the Rogsai specific one, Springleaf Drum, is still really good in Rogsai.
Yep.
And I don't know about Paradise Mantle. It sort of just turned Rog into a bird of paradise.
I don't know that I like... Wow, you guys got to see me not know how to spell.
Welcome to spelling.
Welcome to spelling class. I'm not a huge fan personally of Springleaf, or not Springleaf, of Paradise Mantle.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, especially in this shell, it's not doing 2 things, which is one, we're presumably not going to be very deep into the ad nause like package. So having a card that basically just contributes to Storm, I don't know, is super helpful. 2, also 0 mana, pay 1 to equip is like, like I would just rather play Jeweled Lotus TBH. So
one that I think, well, I guess the next pivot is like, I think we should maybe go like the necessary tutors, right? Like that we're gonna have no matter what deck is in these colors, right? So yeah, Imperial Seal, Decon, or Demonic Tutor.
Did you watch a Disney Channel original movie recently?
Why?
Because you said Decom.
I don't understand what that means.
Disney Channel original movie, Decom.
I said Decon, like Demonic
Oh, I thought you said Decom, and I was okay.
Yeah, Diabolic Intent's an interesting one here, right? Vampiric for sure. We'll probably need Mystical.
Mystical is always one of those ones where it's like a card that I think
it's a lot worse without being an ad nauseam strategy, I will say.
Yeah, like I think in Control you see where Mystical Tutor lacks.
I agree.
So that's that. I think we just go ahead and put in like Thassa's Oracle while we're here.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Was Demonic Constellation, Thassa's Oracle, Tainted Pact definitely deserve to be in here. Like it would be like, I understand we're taking an atypical angle, but we're still trying to optimize that atypical angle, right?
We're also still in Dimir, guys. Like it's the best win con for a reason.
All right, let's also put in Dockside, right? Same situation here.
Dockside.
I think OBM deserves to be in there.
OBM?
Orcish Bowmasters.
Oh, Orcish Bowmasters.
Okay. One of the win cons I want to float by you that I'm kind of into. And I saw Max using this in Talion this weekend is Hullbreaker Horror. And the idea with them is like they would literally just go manual with it. So you would either like make infinite mana and then like, Thoracle through your deck until you found something you needed, or you would like Bowmaster someone to death or bounce the One Ring and like draw your whole deck. And like that was how they were actually winning. And I think it's kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie. It's also just like a really good control finisher, right? So
yeah. I mean, I like Hullbreaker Horror. Hell yeah. That's that good art. I am personally, so this is a thing where I think that I kind of want to talk about wheels a little bit and how I think this deck is pretty uniquely positioned to use wheels in a offensive manner. I think you could pull things from like Opus Thief a little bit here. This is where I think the like Shieldred, Narset, and then like Windfall, Time Twister, Wheel of Fortune package is like really solid.
Yeah, I don't think we even have to go as deep as like all of them, but I think we definitely at least play one wheel, right? Like we at least play actual factual Wheel of Fortune. I think I agree with you. We super duper play Notion Thief though too. And I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, Notion Thief's not nearly as good right now." Yes, you're right. But the thing
still
is,
good.
It's still good, and that's what I've noticed. A lot of lists that are a little slower are actually moving towards still playing, which I really like too.
I am also still very heavily high on Shieldred, being a very good anti-draw card.
I'm getting lower and lower on it by the day, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a card that I don't know that everybody plays correctly.
Yeah, I don't know. As someone who's played it, I'm like, it just sort of annoys people until they remove it, right? Like I don't see it actually killing people.
Yeah, I don't know. I've won multiple games because of it, so
yeah,
maybe that's just anecdotal evidence. So
here's a funny one. We don't have to include it, but I'm I was just like Googling Commander, right? Or Scryfall thing. And just like cards that say Commander on them. It'd be kind of funny to play Yuriko because Rog is like a very early Yuriko enabler. It's not good. I just think it's funny.
It's something, that's for sure.
So let's actually talk about our win cons. Do we want to go Breach here?
So personally, I think this is where the answer to that question needs to be is kind of determined by a question you need to ask first, and that's what are we going to do as a control deck to disrupt our opponent?
Sure.
And so I think that answer is more, I think that answer informs the latter. And so if you're going to be doing something along the lines of, are we going to want to play Grafdigger's Cage? Are we going to want to play, what's the other
Weathered Runestone?
Weathered Runestone. Are we going to want to be playing these things that hate on Breach?
Yeah.
Or are we going to not play those things and play Breach? And I think that's kind of the decision tree there.
So why don't we throw both of those packages in the sideboard for now? So the first package being Grafdigger's Cage, Weathered Runestone.
Runestone. Sorry, I'm trying to talk as much so that our Spotify listeners, have a good listening experience.
Yes.
For the just to remind you, if you're watching on Spotify, make sure to leave a review, hit subscribe. If you're on YouTube, do all the subscribing and the liking and the commenting and what have yous.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Do all of those things.
do all of those things.
Yeah.
So we have that in the sideboard, and then we're putting Breach in
Yeah.
the sideboard as
Yeah.
well.
And then Brain Freeze lines that damage.
Not considering mean to put that in sideboard, and then Brain Freeze. Brain Freeze.
I feel like while we're doing sideboard things, maybe Mnemonic Betrayal is worth looking at, because better if we're doing Brain Freeze stuff, right? Better if we are doing stuff with more wheels, right? So
Right. For those of you who are watching, you would have seen me just go, I don't know how to spell mnemonic, so I'm just going to search Betrayal. And
yeah, there's actually a lot of cards that say Betrayal.
there are. So that was a fun experience for me. I think the other thing is, while we're here, we're kind of talking about the Grave Hate. I think we can just go ahead and add in Grave Hate, that I think is pretty like evergreen, and you're going to play in your deck always. And the good old Dothy Voidwalker.
Yes, I was going to bring that up as well.
He's a great, just is in the deck card.
Yes, agreed.
So
hear me out. Okay. I kind of like the idea of converting Magda plus Dockside into like an actual just hard win, right? So the thing is, and this is here we are. This is why. It's because we have Rograkh in the command zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that now obviously Rograkh costing 0 would make this a little easier, right? But we can go like, okay, Magda, Dockside, get out Cloudstone, have Rog cast for 0, right? Bounce to Dockside. Then we only need 2 to continue the chain, and then like creating a scenario where that just wins. I think the easiest way to do that is putting Citadel on top. And once again, this can be a sideboard package, but I would like to. I also think Hullbreaker Horror should be a sideboard package. This is the thing as well. But like I like the idea of like talking about these divergent wins and like how we can actually convert those to like.
So I think
wins.
my biggest. So here's my trepidation with that.
Okay.
Is at what point, right, are we doing? Because this is where I look at the Grixis WinCon stuff. That is the traditional. You do all of these things.
Yeah.
Because this is definitely something that's not uncommon for Grixis to pull out of its wheelhouse. Is at what point is this just a bad turbo Rog side deck? You know what I mean?
I don't think Magda makes it a bad turbo deck. And
no, I agree, but like, at what point are we not building control and we're just building like a different variant of Rogsai, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think all the control engines in there does it, right? Like the things like Consecrated Sphinx, stuff like that are definitely leaning more towards the control side.
So, okay. So I think this is where I disagree.
Okay.
Because right now, I am looking at a value engine, a couple disruptive pieces, and then all, like a couple value engines. So far, I don't really see a control deck here.
Okay.
What I'm seeing is a Rog side deck that, instead of playing Nas, is going big on is kind of coming, because the direction I'm seeing where we're going right now is, instead of being a control deck, it's now just like Grixis Kinnan, which like is a way you can go with it, right? But that is very distinctively not like control.
Yeah, I guess that I think we're getting maybe into a pedantic conversation about what defines control, right?
Me, pedantic, would never.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we can. The idea is to make a control-ing Rog side deck, right?
Sure.
So what about it right now are you seeing a flaw in by nature in that definition?
So I actually really liked Hullbreaker Horror as an include, because I think that because this is very much a control finisher, right?
All right.
Because it is It is going to do the thing. You can flash it in. It does. I did not mean to do that. I don't even know what I did, but I didn't mean to do that.
Whatever it was incorrect.
But no, I think like Hullbreaker works really well here.
Sure.
I think like Sphinx. I think the big like difference where I think really what it comes down to is like you see Consecrated Sphinx as more of a control card than I do.
Mhm.
I think ultimately.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas I see Consecrated Sphinx as just like, you know, a really good, I'm going to draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
Card. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay. Next thing I think we need to talk about for auto includes, right?
Okay.
Is I think like Curse Totem. If this is a controlling Rockside deck, Curse Totem is
Yes.
just like snap include, right?
I'm glad we are on the same page there because Curse Totem, ace, good card.
And then like so it shuts off Douthie. We don't give a shit. I don't think.
This is one of the things that you know we've talked about a little bit before. Is I think that you need to be okay with some of those anti synergies in your deck, right?
Yeah.
Because like Dauthie's primary like function in most decks is disrupting the graveyard.
Yeah.
The second part of Dauthie is just gravy, right?
Yeah.
So like, who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm.
If you're upset, like,
sorry, no, keep going.
Oh, I'm just gonna say that it's like if you're upset that if you don't want to play that anti synergy of playing Dauthie and Curse Totem, like I think you are looking at Dauthie incorrectly. Yeah.
Okay. I'm cooking a little bit right now. Okay, ready?
Okay.
All right. I say we make this wheel thing hot. Let's turn up the spice on this a little bit. All right. So I'm saying let's throw in the Grafdiggers. Okay. Let's throw in the Weathered Runestone because I think that's kind of necessary for. So let's get some. We're throwing some oil on the pan. Okay. Let's throw.
All right, Gordon, give it to me. What are we doing? What are we doing, Chef?
Mean Bet's coming in too. Let's go.
Mean Bet. You got it.
Yeah. So I'm saying let's make our opponents really regret loving their graveyard. Is what I'm kind of getting at with this deck, right? I'm talking about let's just like every sort of potential card draw engine, any sort of wheel that our opponents could have. I just want to like ruin their day a little bit, right? So I'm thinking we play our wheels. I think we play Windfall 100%.
Yep.
I think we have Silas. It's got Death Touch. Fuck it. Let's put a Narset in, right? Like I don't want my opponents drawing cards. I want them to look at their potentially drawn cards and say like, why would you do this? You've hurt me. Ow.
What the fuck?
What was that?
What you just heard was my mouse like just barely slid over into the Premiere window. And yeah, I'm just gonna close that window so that stops happening.
I do like the idea.
Here's the thing: if we're going to do this, right? Meet me in the middle.
Yep.
We're playing Shieldred.
Right? I will accept Shieldred at this point in time. Yes.
Yeah. I
that was going to be the next thing I bring up.
Yeah. Okay.
If we're going down this avenue specifically, Shieldred gets a lot more attractive.
I love this card so fucking. So okay, this is where I ask the question: is how much
is this an Agila card? Oh no, sorry.
So hold on. I'm good. Just you ever get like a sinus infection and you get a little bit of a cough,
you're sick
and then you're just
like
coughing for weeks?
Yeah.
So this is where I actually wonder how much do we pull from like Rakdos mid range in like standard and stuff, because in modern and pioneer, because now we're starting to really resemble that shell.
Yeah, I don't think maybe the Pioneer version is. I think that's a lot of just like, yes, it can reference new cards, but it's also they're just their rates are not appropriate for what we're trying to do.
Oh, I totally agree. It's more of like what is the like philosophy behind what they're doing here, right?
Yeah. I want more answers right now. So we don't have any our counter spells in, right? We don't have we need our control pieces in, right? So I think we need Oppo, very obviously, right?
100%.
I also think this is one of those decks that plays old Oppo Wishclaw, right? Where you Wishclaw for opposition agent and then snag your opponents, right? Like those lines feel very attractive to the deck.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Wait, can you read Silas for a second?
Whenever Silas Wren, Seeker Adept, deals combat damage to a player, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn.
Yeah, that's kind of awkward with Graph Diggers and Weathered, huh?
It is, but again, I think that's an anti-synergy. And again, I think with Rograkh is the main attraction here.
Yeah, I was just kind of hoping that we could play our Aether Spell Bombs and shit like that, you know? Or
Yes.
Tormod's Crypts or Soul Guy Lanterns. Yeah, I mean, shit that's actually gonna pay off for being in the graveyard. And I guess it doesn't mean we can't, but it definitely, the Weathered Runestone Graph Diggers line really cuts that off.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think at that point it's a question of, do we want to play both or just one, right?
Or is it not worth it to go down this line is the other question.
Well, I tend to think that, especially if I pull in my experience with Tivit, right? Is, I know Sickrobot is very high on the you need to be playing all of the Grave Hate pieces,
right.
Ruined that thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I am more of I think those are tech pieces. And so if I look at Tivit for a second, and I come down to my my package down here, I'm playing Graph Digger's Cage, I'm playing Curse Totem. And the idea is you have, cards like Urza Saga and other ways of pulling those cards into your hand when you need them.
Yeah.
Or pulling them onto the battlefield when you need them. And so I tend to think that Weathered Runestone is a little farther away from where I'd like to be.
Right, because Graph Diggers doesn't shut down Silas, right?
Correct. It's you
can only keep Graph Diggers and fuck
players can't cast cards in graveyards or libraries. So it shuts down Silas, but you can still return things from the graveyard to the battlefield.
I think we play both if we're gonna play them.
Sure.
Then we just avoid Silas synergy.
I think here, if we're on this, I think a really easy change real quick is adding in Urza Saga. This is absolutely a Saga deck. But yeah, so we have those.
Let's go over our counterspell suite, right?
Okay.
I think that's kind of important.
I would agree.
So I think we need Offer, Dispel, Fluster.
Offer,
Dispel
in that shit. Fluster Storm.
We need Mental Misstep.
How many times did you build a deck with Cobble and I
and forget
where you just completely forgot to put in Mental Misstep?
It's one of those cards that I really wish I did not have to put in a sleeve, if I'm being honest. I hate that
it's very funny how frequently, if you go back to our old Brewer's Choice episodes, there would be multiple episodes where we would be going through comparing cards and be like, oh, why aren't you playing Mental Misstep, Ian? And you're like, good question, Cal. So Fluster Storm, Mental Misstep, Swan Song.
Yep. I kind of like Drown in the Loch for this deck specifically.
Yeah, Drown feels good.
It's only awkward if we have Douthie, but I think that's worth it. Yeah, Force Negation, Force of Will. I say we put in Subtlety. We're a control deck. Let's make them have it, you know?
Let's do it. I love it. Are we putting it up the beanstalk while we're at it?
No. All right.
Subtlety.
I think we need one board wipe at least.
Oh, for sure. Do we
I like
I think
Deluge.
this is a toxic deck for sure.
I mean, yeah, Sec Rift obviously too.
For sure. Cyclonic Rift. The other card.
Is this a Thada Adele deck?
No.
Okay.
No.
I feel like taking other people's ring is kind of nice, you know?
No.
Damn it. Oh, okay. You ready? Here's the spicier option. Ready?
Okay.
Glenelendra, Archmage.
All right. Pitch me.
Hey, nice ad nods you got there. Oh, what? You have 3 spells to back it up? That's a shame. It's getting countered.
That feels like a decent sideboard card.
Okay, yeah, I'll take it. That's better than I thought I was gonna get. So, I'll take it.
Where is it? It's 4 fucking mana,
Yeah,
and you have to pay a blue mana to sacrifice it.
I'm hearing a lot of negativity right now.
Bro, that's so much.
Yeah.
In this economy?
Uh-huh. I'm missing the problem here.
Oh my goodness gracious. Ian,
Yeah.
you need therapy.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Okay,
some other
okay.
cards.
Let me cook a little. You
Okay.
ready? Nezahal.
I think you.
Yeah.
Are we doing a reanimation package?
No. Control.
So you're hard casting Nezahal.
Yeah, baby.
I'm gonna pass on that.
Okay, you could sideboard it at the very least. Show me some respect.
That's all right. Nezahal, sideboard. Okay.
Look, Shauna's been doing it forever. We can too, okay?
Yeah, okay, sure. A card that I think we should probably be playing is Dragon's Rage Channeler, especially since we're really feeling graveyard synergy type stuff.
We're shutting off our graveyard synergy.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, we are. Never mind. We're trying to fill our opponent's graveyards, not ours.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm good at what I do. Are we a Daze deck?
No.
Okay. But we are a Mind Break Trap deck.
Oh yeah.
What deck isn't a Mind Break Trap deck now is the real question.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got that. Let us see. So I would.
Are we a Dark Confidant deck?
Maybe. I don't know if Bob is the way, or if like Black Market Connections is better.
I don't think Black Market Connections is. I think that card is barely playable, if I'm being honest. I saw it like once or twice in that Italian list, and it was just like I don't think Phyrexian Arena has ever been cEDH playable, and I don't think it making a treasure makes it better than Phyrexian Arena. Like that.
Yeah, my only concern with Bob is it's just like you're dealing we have a lot of big hits in this deck.
Yeah.
And also it's a 2/1. And we
don't need to be artificially increasing our clock, especially if we're trying to control the board state.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And that was partially why I'm like, I wonder if like a Malcolm or a
like 2 mana Malcolm, you mean?
Yeah, 2 mana Malcolm, or any of those, that like family of 2 drops is maybe a better idea. Sure. But here we can sideboard. I don't need the C there. I don't know why. Add to sideboard. We'll put that in the sideboard. Ian, do you want to be in this deck? I heard Ian Malcolm is a cEDH legal card.
It's a bad card. Do we dress down? I feel like we dress down, right?
Dress down seems fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dress down. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
Dress. Oh, damn it.
I am getting so hot, I want to take my clothes off.
That's wonderful, Cal. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I thought you would enjoy that.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I guess we got to figure out also, like, how else are we winning? I guess we have the Hullbreaker stuff, right?
We do have the Hullbreaker stuff.
Yeah.
You do bring up an interesting conundrum.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this list is maybe a little better served just leaning into the graveyard stuff, like just cutting Grafdiggers, cutting Runestone, starting to throw in some like control pieces for Silas. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's
so
you know?
if we're doing that,
Yeah.
so I wonder, if like doing some sort of like Nicol Bolas the Ravager strategies, or like, because like if we're so let's say we're staying here in this, let's just stay where we are for a moment, right?
Sure.
And we pull in some discard elements, right? And this that's where I'm bringing up like Nicol Bolas the Ravager. Is it's not necessarily that card,
Sure,
but more of the what are some cards that are going to make each opponent discard a card that we can really leverage in an effective way.
I think that's an attractive avenue for another deck.
Okay.
Specifically because those the mass discard strategies are best backed up by card advantage of your own, whereas this deck is lacking specifically that, right? Like, I don't think us playing like a burglar rat to make all our opponents discard a card is going to help our Rograkh plan, right?
Oh no, I wasn't thinking burglar rat. I was thinking more like hopeless nightmare. You know.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying like I think that's best served in a different shell.
Sure. Although I will say I do think like Kroxa is not the worst. Because that is absolutely a win con.
Also, we would need Grafdiggers and Weather Runestone to be on.
That's true. I mean, that's what I'm saying though, is like if we're doing that, then like Kroxa might be a reasonable card. I don't know. Also, a card in the 99 that might be reasonable is Kess.
Yes, I agree. All right, so let's get rid of it. We're cooking with the graveyards. Let's get rid of Grafdiggers and all that shit.
All right, Grafdiggers, Cage, and Weathered Runestone. You're going to the considering board.
Yes. Okay. So here's the things we can cook with. So let's go down to the sideboard, throw in the Breach package, right?
Yeah. Breach. Main deck.
Yeah,
Brain Freeze.
Eye Diamond.
Main deck. What'd you say?
We need LED.
Lion's Eye Diamond. Eye Diamond.
Yes. Okay. Next,
we have now made our deck very unattainable.
What?
Never mind. Next thing.
So let's talk about like some Silas stuff that I think becomes way more attractive here. So we get like Soul Guide Lantern, which is just repeatable graveyard hate.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we can get. I think the one that like definitely is the auto clued is Aether Spellbomb. I think
yes.
Awesome here.
I'm just gonna do Spellbomb because
we should look at all the Spellbombs. Yes, I agree.
Add to main deck.
Yeah,
definitely not Flight Spellbomb.
No, I don't know. Give Rograkh flying.
Necrogen Spellbomb. Don't think that's it. Nihil Spellbomb.
Considering board maybe.
Yeah. I didn't even know Panic Spellbomb was a card. That's amazing.
Yeah, it for sure is.
Pyrite Spellbomb though is
main deck. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I think
If we're
2
doing
is kind of mid, to be honest.
do
I like
what?
if it was 3, I would like it a lot more. The fact that it's 2 is like,
I mean, it kills like bowmasters and shit. So
yeah, that part's fair.
it also kills Nagilas pretty dead.
Yeah, yeah.
And Timnas and yeah. So
Okay.
so we got
I
those.
like Reach. I think we can add Grinding Station. It's good.
Grinding station.
Yeah. I also think Entomb becomes kind of free
I
in this
agree.
group. Yeah.
I think
And then we can play like
Entomb.
one value reanimate or like animate dead and reanimate. Like those are pretty free at
I
this
think
point.
reanimate we can absolutely play.
Mhm.
And then I'm
I kind of like
less
one animate dead as well because we
okay.
have Hullbreaker, we have Consecrated Sphinx, we have milling our opponents with Windfall
So
and Mill.
I'll say this: if we're going along this lines, I'm way more interested in playing Nezahal, but I'm
Yeah,
also interested in playing Nezahal more like over Sea Sphinx, TBH.
I think that's wrong, but yeah.
But either way, I think
Let's play both.
it
And then
definitely
this
goes
makes
in.
Malcolm more attractive too.
Yeah.
Uh, card that I also really like in the 99 right now, because I've been testing it recently, is actually Florian. Florian in these decks
Florian.
has been really, really hot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Just
I
being
can
able to
see
get
it.
in 3 deep when you get this card, and like Silas is Death Touch too, right? So you're easily connecting to somebody for 5 every turn and
Right.
just like getting cards with it. It's actually been really, really hot. Shout out to Max B.
Yeah. That's cool. I think here I would now here's my biggest concern with where our deck is right now
Sure. Hear me out.
is the number of 4-drops we have are a lot. Now I guess subtlety doesn't really
That is the
count.
0 mana spell for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, we only got 3. Never mind. We're
Yeah.
fine. We're fine. The other card that I was going to recommend was now that we're kind of moving off of this strategy, I think like Kess is really solid.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, you know,
Is the cast really solid? Is 4 mana really worth it? Like, is
uh,
is
mm,
not like a JVP maybe a little bit better? Or Vohar, right? Like, I think I don't know.
well, okay. So my thought with Kess
Mhm.
is that it's just a static ability that doesn't need activated, so you don't need to play it, wait a
Mhm.
turn, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It
Well,
comes
I would
down.
argue with Kessa's mana cost, you do need to play it and wait a turn.
Well, you know what? We're making so much mana in this deck. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, what I would say is because it's once each turn.
Mhm.
If I'm reading that correctly, during each of your turns. Okay. Uh, like I think it adds some amount of value. I think
Yeah.
like if we want to be playing at instant speed, I would rather play like Snapcaster than JVP.
Sure, sure.
But like I think some amount of like mission briefing or Snapcaster or
Yeah.
something along like one of those is worth
Yeah,
thinking
no, I
about.
can definitely get behind that. Yeah, fuck it. Let's go 2012 and play some Snapcaster Mage, right? Like,
We're playing. This is Grixis Control, baby.
yeah.
Snapcaster Mage.
I don't know though. I really like JVP.
I do too. I think in a control deck, Snapcaster is better.
Yeah, you're probably right. Um, so okay, I can get behind that. Um,
So we're at 99 cards right now.
yeah, we're also at 30 lands. That's
Yeah, yeah.
not bad. So let's add a Moon Snare prototype, right?
Moon. Let's just go prototype because spelling is hard and there's only so many prototypes in this
Yeah.
game. Uh,
And then I guess we don't have to add like value artifacts. Yeah, so I kind of like that as the artifact package for now. We could also add counterbalance top. I don't traditionally like it in a deck like this, but
Yeah, I'm less. I generally speaking don't love it.
Mhm.
I think I would say that if we do decide to add like the
Mhm.
what's it, the Bolsa Citadel line,
Yeah.
I think that you absolutely put it
Sure, sure.
in just
Yeah,
because there's no reason not to.
yeah.
Um,
I'm with you there. Okay, and then let's look at the counter spell suite for a second, or the instant suite, I should say.
yeah,
So we're a control deck, right? I think we need a few more. Okay, so we have mana drain. You have muddle
mana
too.
drain delay.
I like muddle a lot in this deck.
Yeah,
You know what? Let's just throw a little paprika on there and just let's just throw a trick bind in. You know, we're a control deck. Let's just make some crazy shit happen, right? If I've lost you, have I? I don't know, man.
Ian.
Tishana's Tidebinder. Better? Worse?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll play Tidebinder.
All right. Fine.
It's I'll do that. But you really, I think this podcast
Uh-huh.
is going to be great because I think it's going to unveil to a lot of people
Yeah.
how much more sane I am and how much more insane you are.
I'm just saying, let's throw some control pieces in there. Let's just why are we being so negative? Oh, speaking of control pieces, I actually think Pithing Needle might be a good ad here, especially.
I would agree. We're a Saga deck. I think Pithy
Yeah.
Needle's a pretty good ad. Pithing Needle.
Wait, can we go down to the artifacts for a second?
Yeah, we can't for sure. We are on, for the listening audience, we're on Chromox, LED, Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mox Amber, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Aether Spellbomb, Mana Vault, Moon Snare Prototype.
Why is this the angle you're choosing to go
Number one, Pithing Needle. Coming in at number one as well, it's Pyrite Spellbomb. Soul Ring. Starting at your center position, it's Springleaf Drum.
Uh-huh.
Cursed Totem. Grinding Station. Wishclaw Talisman. And you're from Akron, Ohio, the One Ring.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Get it because I was comparing the One Ring to LeBron James.
Yes.
I he's from Akron.
That. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It was bringing some Space Jam energy to that, and so I needed to, need to make a reference to the GOAT.
How do you feel about? I'm really gonna power through the sports stuff. It's I saw it in a Rogside deck a very long time ago.
Okay.
And I kind of think it's attractive. It's not Curiosity,
Okay.
but it's the one that adds a power to.
Are you talking about Curious Obsession?
That one. I think no. Well, actually both of them. Combat Research and Curious Obsession.
Combat Research. Yeah, I like Combat Research.
Yeah.
In general, I've been a fan of that card. And Curious Obsession.
The Combat Research is obviously definitely better, right?
For sure.
But I think just like Rograkh immediately becoming just a one power menace first strike draw card is like.
Excuse you, don't forget it has trample.
It does have trample. You're right. For all those 0 toughness creatures.
Listen,
we
got to be fair
in the sideboard.
What'd you say?
Why is Soul Guide in the sideboard?
I don't know. I just put it there.
It's
Listen, we're at 103 cards.
Yeah, because you have 30 lands in there, you psycho.
Oh, excuse me. Let me cut back one card. All right, let me remove the land the way you wanted to do at 29. Let's see what the difference is. Holy shit, we're at 102 cards. This is so much more sane, Ian. Wow. The problem is solved.
Oh my god.
Call me a psycho when I have one more land than you wanted. Fuck off.
Okay. I meant more that there's no way we're keeping that many in general, but yeah. We can afford Dark Rit, yeah, for sure.
Dark Ritual?
Yeah.
Yeah. We certainly can't afford it. This is the one thing with rituals that like I'm always like kind of like hesitant with in control decks is it's always one of those things where I'm like, okay, so I've got this dark ritual. Okay, then what?
Well, for this deck, I think it is specifically the prospect of turn 1 Dauthi, turn 1 Oppo, turn 2 Shieldred, turn 2 Talion, turn 2 Florian, turn 2 One Ring. Like I can keep going.
Yeah, like I definitely see where you're coming from. It's just one of those things where, yes, it definitely is one of those cards where I think just generally speaking, I'm not saying don't include it in this. I'm just kind of saying this to make sure I do my due diligence of, hey, listeners at home, I don't know that this goes in every deck.
Yeah. I also feel like maybe we should be looking at like Snuff Out and Fire Covenant deck.
Fire Covenant for sure. I like Snuff Out as well. Fire Covenant. No, I don't want that art. Ew, I know that's the art that I own. This is the art.
No, you gotta put the Stinky Dragon.
No, I want the one that's pretty. This and what do you use the original Llanowar too? Then you sicko.
Oh, he's like pretty foils and shit. But like, come on, Stinky Dragon, so iconic for Fire Covenant.
Oh my gosh,
getting blown out by that derpy little dragon. Oh yeah, Doctor Who.
I hate that art like with a burning passion. Okay, this is one of the things. Not to go off on a tangent, but there's some of the things on the like Doctor.
Go off a tangent.
Yeah, not to go off on a tangent, but here's a tangent for you. Some of the art in the Doctor Who set is just so fucking cringy, and I can't. It just but yeah, okay. So we're at 105 cards now. We're playing a control deck. We're not going to be Bryant Cook and Zane and all of them and go down to 23 lands.
No, I think we can go down to 27 easily, 26 probably, if I'm being honest.
Okay. With no mana advantage, or what's it called? Card advantage in the command zone. You're putting a lot of faith in those outlets.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
If our outlets don't work in this deck doesn't work, period. Right? Like, Rograkh can keep a decent control hand, right? If it's not exploding, it's got to explode into an engine, right? That's the entire point of the thesis behind this deck, right?
Sure. I will give you a good 27 land.
Yeah, I think that feels totally fine to me.
Yeah. This is good Christian magic over here. We're not none of that atheist magic, okay? We still believe in Jesus and God and all of that around here, so we make sure that we have enough lands in it.
All right, so let's make these 3 cuts before you get religious on us. How do we actually do we want to put the combat research in? Do we think that's cute? I kind of like it, to be honest.
I like both of them, honestly. I do like those cards. So I think we could justify them.
Yeah.
I think the only issue I have with Curious Obsession is that it does require you to attack each turn. So I think
that's why I was thinking like just combat research.
Yeah.
And then if combat research proves to be
very good.
Yeah.
One of the things that I will say is there is a notable lack of like Rograkh. We are very notably lacking some 1-drops. Like,
oh, you mean Ragavan?
Ragavan, that's what I meant.
I was gonna say we have Rograkh in the command zone, actually.
Yeah, we want to play the monkey.
Yeah. I think Ragavan is very good. Yeah, for sure. And also sometimes like you just steal other, Grixis decks win.
Yeah. So we definitely play that.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure. So we have 5 cards at the moment that we need to cut, and are we missing anything before we go down that rabbit hole of cutting cards? Did we want to play 2 mana rocks?
I think we don't need them, to be honest. It's
Okay.
at least in the way it's looking to me. I don't think we need them from this list. Do you feel like we're missing them?
I generally think that I would like to see maybe an arcane signet, but maybe that's just, you know what? Fuck it, we'll go with it. We are fine.
Okay. Also, maybe 2 more suggestions. These can probably be sideboards.
Okay.
Okay, so three suggestions actually, I guess.
Okay.
4.
Jesus Christ, man.
Okay, Fairy Mastermind. Gilded Drake.
Hold on, Mastermind. Yo, I'm the mastermind. Gilded Drake.
And I
don't have a
actually think
Taylor
Gilded Drake
Swift song for
maybe
that.
should make it into the main deck, if I'm being honest.
I agree with that, but I'm putting it in sideboard for now.
Okay. Malevolent Hermit.
Hermit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to spell malevolent.
And in some sort of clone. So probably Flesh Duplicate, I would say.
Flesh.
Or Phyrexian Metamorph. Both are fine.
Can I just say, I really hate, it's not duplicate, it's Flesh Duplicate.
Yeah.
I hate that with a passion.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's stinky.
What? I spelled, I forgot the X in Phyrexian. That'll do it. Cool. All right, those are added to our sideboard.
Okay. All right. I think I don't know. I'm of the camp that you always have 1 clone at the very minimum.
I think that's fair.
Metamorph is probably the stickiest, and we're a control deck, so I kind of like that. Gilded Drake. Okay, hear me out. Gilded Drake specifically in a deck where we're like, okay, I'm happy to take a Crom any day in this deck. You know what I mean? Something like that, where like the floor on it's not bad at all.
You don't need to sell me very hard on Gilded Drake.
Yeah.
I am a fan of fruits and vegetables.
I like Mastermind when the games slow down, but we don't need it. And Hermit was just like, if we wheel enough times or have enough discards, like maybe it's
so
just
I think Mastermind and Malcolm very specifically compete for the same spot.
Yes, and I like Malcolm more in this deck.
Yeah. I think what is it? Malevolent Hermit and Shauna's Tidebender are competing for the same spot.
Interesting.
Is kind of how I visualize it. So like if I were to make like a chart of cards that if I don't like this card, this is just kind of evergreenly good.
Yeah.
So that's just like if we decide we want another one. Yeah. Same thing for Curious Obsession.
Yeah.
Glen Elendra, I'm just be honest.
Probably not worth it.
Yeah, I think I'd rather play Malevolent Hermit.
Yeah.
This is also like I don't know that we're ever going to play this.
Yeah, that's a different version of the deck, maybe.
Also, I went Jewel Lotus by.
Yeah. Take one of your cards and get.
Nihil Spellbomb, I think
it's worth keeping in the sideboard.
It can be there. It's fine. I don't feel good about it, but
sure.
It's there. So yeah, that's our 5-card sideboard at the moment.
All right, we got to make 7 cuts.
7 cuts. Cut number 1.
What a question. Okay. We could probably throw Snappy away.
Yeah.
We have enough redundancy of stuff where it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary.
Let me go down to the considering board real quick and just, oh no, we want to keep those in considering.
Yeah.
So we'll throw Snappy Casty into considering.
Yeah, I think Tidebinder probably can go in considering. I like the card, but I don't know that it fits in the deck.
I think it's too cute.
I think it's better for other lists for sure.
Yeah. I'm also we have just such this extensive reanimation. Like we have 3 really good reanimation targets.
Yeah.
So
Not
it's
to mention the fact that we're like wheeling our opponents so we can take shit out of their yards too.
Yeah. Well, I was specifically looking at Animate Dead and like, do we want to play Animate Dead? But I think with what we're on, we want to play Animate Dead. I think Combat Research is a solid. We are playing that.
Yes, I agree.
Pyrite Spellbomb, I think, is one that
is cuttable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either Spellbomb or Pyrite, and I think Pyrite's probably the weaker of the two.
Yes, agreed.
So we have 4 more to go. I don't want to cut anything here.
I don't want to cut instance either. Yeah,
like
I agree.
all of our instance, I'm like, if anything, I want more. Right?
Sure.
Like,
yes, I agree.
like if anything, I feel like we're slim.
Yeah.
I think Diabolic Intent might be
cuttable.
Cuttable. Because
that's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah. For those at home, like Rograkh here is not here to enable the, the sack cards the same way you do in the other ones. Like I said, we're playing good cards in this deck.
Now, hear me out. I think of all of the draw hate, Narset is probably the most cuttable.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So Narset is pretty cuttable. I don't love Florian specifically because it's exile card advantage.
And you're worried about stuff like Draneth?
Yeah, well, it's not just Draneth, but it's also the way that our deck. So the way that our deck works is we want cards in our hand
for instant speed, not sorcery speed.
Yeah. And so I think that's the big issue here is it's until the end of this turn. And if it was like the end of next turn, hog. But
so here's my counter argument. I've been playing it in my Evelyn list, which, as you know, is like kind of Grixis Nimrus, right? And in that list, it was really helpful for the situations where I was like, okay, Florian makes our land drops.
Sure.
And then everything else is in the hand. But I also understand your argument as well. For sure.
I also think that deck is, because of how Evelyn works, is more comfortable playing cards out of exile and playing cards.
Yes, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure.
All
right, let's make it happen. Yeah,
I think Florian and Narset are both like
good, but not.
Yeah, they don't quite cut the mustard.
Yeah.
Is that how the saying goes? Cut the mustard? I don't know. As far as creatures go, like I don't hate our creature.
It's a pretty solid package, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
Ian, I kind of like this deck.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Ian, I kind of like this.
Play it, have fun with it.
So we need to cut one more card.
Okay, here's my argument for cutting Dress Down, right? In this deck specifically, it's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No, specifically just because like we have a lot of creatures that do stuff.
Yeah, we care about our creatures a lot more.
Yeah.
I was definitely, that was a card that I was looking at. This deck, it's very funny because I feel like we've just kind of like reverse engineered Tivit almost.
Sure. Well, I think any controlling deck is going to look like Tivit.
Well, yes, but it's just like, it feels like Tivit without the like win con in the command zone.
Right.
And instead just gets like the fast mana advantage out of the command zone.
Yeah.
And so it's like playing along a very similar axis. And I think there's some things in this that I'm just like sitting here going, I wonder if I could move that over the Tivit, like specifically the like reanimation package with like Hullbreaker, Nezahal, that sort of stuff is like, I wonder if that translates. So that's 100 cards.
Hell yeah, it is.
And then fuck a mana base.
Okay. Here's the mana bases are. I think I'm a pretty good mana base expert, if I'm being honest. So I know this is your Achilles heel. So this has historically always been the thing that you really struggle with. It is very funny.
I can fill out 70 cards. And then I get to the lands and I'm like, I need an adult to come help me because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. All right, I got you, buddy. All right, so let's clear it out.
Oh my goodness. Let's remove all.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I want.
Remove the entire deck. No. So we're gonna do our 9 fetch package, right? So any 3 color combination for those at home can play 9 of the 10 available fetches. So Al's an expert, and I can actually just monologue over with explaining the fetch math. So for every 2 color combination, you can play 7 of the available fetches. For every 3 color combination, you can play 9. Anything 4 and greater, you can play every fetch available to you. Now there is some current modern logic about, what does your fetch mana base look like? And in fact, a lot of people, myself included, are moving away from having the fetch that represents your least attractive color and the splash color. So for example, if I'm playing Sans Blue, right, and red is my least played color, I'm probably not going to play Scalding Tarn in that deck, right? Because if red is something I'm fetching for the least, why would I want the fetch land that represents the least useful information in that deck, right? So the little things like that have started to sort of come up in these modern mana bases when traditionally you would just play all the fetches that are available to you. And for those, there's going to be people who are like, actually, this has been conversations for a long time. Yes, I understand, but this is now common practice as opposed to used to be like a bit of a fringe mentality to work with. Okay, so we have 10 fetches. We need now the original dual lands. So we have Underground Sea, Badlands, and Volcanic Island.
Nope, not Tundra.
Not Tundra. This is not Tivit. No matter how many times.
I literally, did you see how I instinctively just wrote in Tundra because I'm like, we're playing control. It's Tundra. It's a Caleb deck.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So once again, after naming all 3, you still typed in the wrong one, which is the funniest part. I didn't just say the original tools. I proceeded to go over them, and you were like, "No, there's a Tundra.
It's Tundra." What's the black one again? Black red one again?
Badlands.
That's right.
All right, and then I think let's scroll down a little bit, Cal. All right, let's not focus on the printing for now. Scroll down more. Okay, so keep going. Callahan, go down. Color breakdown. Thank you. Okay, so for those at home, there will be some numbers in front of you. For the podcast audience, I'm going to describe what we're looking at. Basically, on every Moxfield list, there's a breakdown of colors. And what's important is there's actually a large bolded number, and then the important number is actually the number below it. Because that is how many symbols of each color are in the deck. So for example, right now our deck has 58% of its symbols are blue, 34% are black, and 8% are red. So for example, when I was talking about that mana base earlier, like the red, green, or red, white fetches are the fetches we are most likely to cut to try and optimize this mana base. Because those represent the off color fetches. So and honestly, it might not be a bad option while we're going forward to think about using that. So let's at least add Watery Grave, right? That is representing our 2 most important chalk colors, I think. And blue being so important, I feel like it's probably easy to just add a Steam Fence as well. Yeah. Now let's transition over to our 5 color lands. We obviously need Command Tower. That sort of goes without saying. Now I would like, because we're not an Arcane Signet, I'm actually wondering if we even include Ancient.
No, we don't.
I don't think so either. Let's just scroll
we
up.
We care about our life total too much.
I think so too. Yeah. Well, let's just scroll up a little bit and take a peek at the deck if you don't mind. So we have Rhystic Studies, a good payoff for that. We have Grinding Station, which is a kind of a good payoff. We One Ring Curves can come down a little bit earlier sometimes. Callahan, the Wheels, right? Like, but these are all payoffs that I'm happy. Shieldred, yeah. Okay,
you know what? Actually, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? We have Shieldred. Like, if we really are hurting on life, we can just tutor for Shield, right? Like,
yeah, I just think I don't want to play cards in the 99 around cards in the 99. That's usually how I.
Yes, I agree. But I guess what I'm thinking is, how badly are we going to be hurting with an Ancient Tomb where I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a potential argument of like, there's an argument to cut Grinding Station and put an Arcane Signet, my qualification for why we don't do that is that Grinding Station is actually one of the outlets for Hullbreaker combos, which I really like. It's also just like another breach enabler that's pretty easy to turn on with Rograkh, given
Right.
even with how like explosive our deck is, right?
Right. That's
I feel like
hard.
yeah, I feel like there's definitely going to be people in the audience too who mentioned the fact that we're not on Red, Pyro, or Simeon, which is all a lot of
Well,
really interesting combinations.
we're not on Simeon because we're playing good cards.
Oh my god, Simeon is still a very good card. An uncounterable mana source is very good.
Yeah. You know what else is an uncounterable mana source?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Lands.
Lands, yeah. They can only do one per turn, Cal. Come on. Sound like a boomer here. All right. Okay, so let's go down. Back to the meta. So we added Command Tower. I think we add Exotic Orchard. I think that one's almost always an include here. And I'm going to include Forbidden Orchard, in my opinion. There's not enough downside for me for this deck where it's worth not including. Yeah, City Brass, Mana Confluence, obviously. Also super common includes in decks like this. I do tend to enjoy especially in a deck like this that is more controlling and playing for a longer game. I kind of like a Fiery Islet in here.
Yeah.
Just as a cantrip on a land, right?
You can get behind that.
Yeah. Let's
Ew,
see.
Doctor Who printing. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh my god. Let's see here. I think we can. Oh well, we definitely need Odawara. Yeah, silly me.
Yeah, Odawara.
Yeah. I think we don't need any of the other uncounterable lands. Do we?
Oh, we want to play Morphic Pool.
Yeah, so I was gonna say let's get the Battle Bond lands in there, especially the blue one. So, Morphic Pool being the priority here for sure.
And then
Training Center.
Training Center. That's right.
Yeah, you're there with the red white one.
Listen, they're all like just close enough in name in my head that like I can't.
I got you. I'm trying to think of like all the utility lands that are commonly available. So
I mean, there's like Cephalid Coliseum.
Yeah, that one's definitely interesting. I don't
Gemstone Caverns.
Oh, we definitely want a Minamo in this deck, I think.
Minamo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't Gemstones. It's very silly. Of course, we're playing Gemstones. Gemstones is a necessary evil.
I know. But I hate it nonetheless.
You are on the play 75% of the time, or 25% of the time. I mean,
I hate it. No, listen, it doesn't change the fact that when I'm on the draw, I still draw it.
Yeah,
like on turn 3, and I'm like, why the fuck are you in my deck?
Oh my god. Yeah, so I don't know. And there's any number of lands that could fill in this last spot, just like Fire Rabbit was sort of like a casually like relaxed include. I think there's any number.
I think Spire of Industry is a reasonable card here.
I think Spire of Industry is a very reasonable card, especially given that we're on 17 artifacts, if not more.
We're on mini artifacts.
What's our final artifact count?
So 18
plus we have an Urza Saga.
Then we also have Metamorph.
And the treasures, and
also one of our commanders is an artifact.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like,
yeah, no,
we've got the artifacts. I was trying to do an like Arby's thing there, and it just didn't work.
Like we got the beef. Yeah.
We've got the meats. We've got the artifacts. It just doesn't work as well.
We got the beef. Can we look at our artifacts for a second?
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about this package is that we are running that Entomb, right? And now with the One Ring, I think that's just like so free with Silas, right? Just to be able to pull that out of the art, I think is so strong. Not to mention like, if you already have Breach in hand, you can go get your Grinding Station, you can go get the thing that enables your Grinding Station, you get your Wish Claws, you can use Spell Bomb as removal. I think that's like, we have a lot of really attractive targets for that Entomb, plus some now reanimation synergy with our big payoffs.
I actually think this is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a sick deck.
Like unironically, this is a deck that I would play.
Yeah,
I think maybe this is something I would show up to a tournament and sleeve this up just to like fuck with people a little bit.
Yeah. I agree.
So got just a hair bigger. This opening hand is
3 lands, Mox Amber, Consecrated Sphinx, Forcible, and Brain Freeze. Yeah.
Don't know that we keep that one.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely decent style.
Let's take a look here. Rag, Offer, Malcolm, Reanimate. It's not the worst.
Yeah, I mean, write down turn 1 Ragavan.
What the fuck?
Oh, someone's calling you on Discord.
Why is Flower calling?
Questions that may never be answered.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me put on streamer mode so that anyway.
You want that to happen again?
What?
I said, what, you don't want that to happen again?
No, I'd love for that not to happen. Okay, so let's try this thing out. So if we draw for turn, right? We get an opposition agent. I think here I'm just gonna be
just play Rag. Yeah.
Let's just play Ragavan and play out Rog.
I think we sandbag Rog at this point.
We sandbag Rog? All right.
So I think Turbo Rog, you always jam Rog, but now in a world of Bowmasters and in a world of trying to convince people that this is not a Turbo ad nauseam deck, I think I don't know. I just think this is a list where you want to be a little more conservative with it, especially if you like end up in scenarios where you're doing Hullbreaker stuff and things like that. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so we got a Ragavan. Go to our next turn. We pulled up a combat research, which is kind of neat. We play a land. We combat research.
Yeah, that's pretty sick top deck, not gonna lie.
Isn't it? So we attack, we get a treasure,
get a card and draw.
And we draw, which is a fiery islet. And then we have this Malcolm here to hold up. We have an offer we can't refuse. We have opposition agent in hand. Reanimate. Like, we've got some options here on turn 2 right away. This is a sick include, actually, the more I'm like thinking about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's look at turn 3. What does turn 3 have in store for us? Animate Dead. Well, that's mildly awkward.
The 2 reanimate decks in the 100 card pile. It's okay.
Yeah. So you swing again, draw, drown in the lock. So yeah, like we're doing that for a bit.
Yeah, so it's very controlling, right? So this hand is like, it might seem like you're like, oh, okay, well, you're not really doing much, right? But when we play a land here, we get to pass the turn representing Malcolm, Offer, Opposition Agent, and Drown in the Lock, right? So like that is all a lot of interaction that can be able to disrupt the table.
The other thing too, and this is something that I kind of want to just point out, like as we're goldfishing here, is that like goldfishing control decks is
always
hard. Like, because the entire point is you're reacting to opponents, and it's not even just control decks. It's just like goldfishing reactive decks is hard because, you know, you're reactive. So when you don't have anything to react to,
But we're seeing here like the benefits of what the deck's trying to do, right? Which is balance that nature of, okay, we are being proactive. We have our Ragavan, we have our combat research, right? We are being proactive in gaining card advantage and card selection as we go through our strategy, right? And then we're being reactive by having a bunch of removal interactions, things like that. So we have those two aspects, right? Our game plan is not waiting for our opponent. We're not holding up lands and just holding counter spells, because that's not going to actually develop our board. It's not being proactive. And it's definitely not going to get you there in 80 minutes. Now becoming the standard, right?
The other interesting thing to add on to that too is, let's say we don't have this Ragavan and we still top that combat research.
Yeah, we have Rograkh.
We have Ragavan, and Ragavan is a great attacker when it has power. So it's like either way.
Callahan, how many times are you going to mix our commander and Ragavan up?
What?
How many times are you going to mix our commander and Ragavan up?
Wait, did I do that again?
You said Ragavan has 1 power.
All right. Well, this was a good show, everybody. Great podcast. Thanks for all coming out. Make sure to subscribe. My dog currently thinks that we're actually ending.
No.
You know what ship wrap up sounds like. But yeah, let's hit restart.
Can you imagine if Rograkh was instead Ragavan and Ragavan had partner?
I'd rather not. Man, this This
one land and that gets
is
hot.
literally a land away from being perfect.
That land, oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, that's
We keep it. No, I'm kidding.
no, you can't keep that. Another no lander. Rip. Let's go down to 6.
Okay,
Another
this
no
is
lander.
so unlikely.
Let's go down to 5. This seems like a reasonable hand, except for fuck. You can't cast the shield.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to get it. I still think you keep that, actually. So you just hope for a top deck Black Source, right?
Yeah.
I think you throw away the Mox Opal. I think you throw away the Mental Misstep, and you sit there with a Rollick and
move to the bottom.
This is one of those hands where you do obviously cast Rograkh early. Fuck, now you got me doing it. God damn it.
I love you.
Asshole.
So we draw for turn. We got an offer you can't refuse. That fucking.
Yeah.
Fiery Islet.
Yeah.
Rograkh.
Mm-hmm.
We draw. Hey, check that shit out, kids.
Yep. Turn 2 Shoulder, baby. Let's go. Easy claps.
Get wrecked. That is, as the kids say, hard to deal with. And then next turn we got another land, and yeah, we're just kind of sitting here in a holding pattern, but we've got a lot of answers to shit. So.
Right, and that's kind of the idea with a hand like that. It's tough, right? With none of the explicit card advantage that we talked about.
I will say this about the way we currently have this compiled is I do think that the mulligans that we just saw there are a little bit indicative of why in a control deck I would lean to be more towards 29 than 27.
But if you notice that last one, right? So we had 3 no landers in a row, which I've played 24 lands in a deck and have never had that happen to me. Right. So
I play 30 land decks and I have had that happen to me.
Right. So that I think that's more of a high roll situation, right?
Yeah.
Or a low roll situation, I guess, in that circumstance. But if you also notice the hand that we did keep, you drew a land every turn, right?
Sure.
So I think that's a little bit it balanced out.
It did. I would here is the reason why I am sus on the low land count is because one of the things that you're going to be in control always operating at is you're kind of always going to be a little bit behind as far as resources go because you're spending them answering things. So you don't have the luxury of what other decks get of we got to aggressively mulligan. And you can't really do that in a control deck because of the fact that you need to have cards in hand in order for your strategy to work.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where the less I need to mulligan, the better I feel with a control deck.
Understood.
So that's just generally how I feel about it. And that's why I don't love being at 27 lands. I think I'd rather be at 8 or 29, but like I think like where we're at is perfectly fine. Like it's just I think at that point it's a style or preference. But
yeah.
This is a cool deck though.
I think it's gonna be fun.
You gonna play this at Mox Masters?
No. No.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, at the very least, we have a interesting set of 98 cards.
Yeah.
So
no, I think the list is sweet. I think I would be interested to see how often you can convert the starts that we looked at into like actual wins over a decent amount of time, right? Especially given like the potency of top deck engines nowadays in cEDH. Like what happens, when you get to an Atraxa, you know what I mean? Things like that, or like a Tivit, right? Like those things are hard to outpace. And Rog's really good at controlling the early to mid game, right? Like 2 counterspells on turn 1 is more than a lot of decks can argue, right? Trying to remove a spell and a counterspell on turn 1 is something a lot of decks can't boast, right? But it's about continuing and maintaining that edge. And I like doing things like this because what they serve to me is a representation of like the format, given the extensive card pool, given the potential of all of the powerful cards in the format, is never solved, right?
Right.
And I think there are some strategies that are obviously pushing beyond, right? Like obviously partners are inherently more powerful than single commanders, right? Like that's just kind of how the format works at this point, right? But that being said, we are seeing that even a strategy as known and as straightforward as Rograkh can even be adapted to play on a different axis than other things like that. And what we've done here is also just taken sort of a meme Twitter post and then articulated like still viable, right? Like still a viable way to play the game. And that's pretty cool. And yes, it does speak to the strength of the commanders, but at the same time, like I don't think Rograkh looks broken in this deck. I think Rograkh looks responsible, right? And Rograkh looks clean and efficient, right? And like that's what it's going for here. And I think it's really interesting, the potential of all of these cards and the ability to just, I mean, what's the card pool for Commander nowadays? What, 30,000, if not more?
So many fucking cards. I have no idea. They keep printing new, like hundreds of new cards like every month. So like, expecting me to know that number off the top of my head is
it's ridiculous how many cards are legal in Commander. And I think I can actually check on Scryfall right now. I just typed in legal in Commander, which may break the computer. 26,116 cards. 26,000 cards are legal in this format, right? So for those who think the format is solved, I would argue that is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard, if I'm being honest. I think there's so many things to be doing in cEDH. There's so many different articulations, variants, all of those things. Like literally look at anything Charles ever produces, right? And he limits himself to one color 90% of the time, right? And will still pull out cards that no one's ever heard of and just absolutely dominate niche situations, right? And that's one single card. And he's hyper focusing on remaining one color for years. That was all he ever did was hyper focus on this one thing. Or even Michael LeVine, who hyper focused on Heliod specifically for a very long time, right? And so now these pilots, hyper focus on these strategies and like make sure and optimize those. And now, what about strategies that were printed but just barely missed the mark 3 years ago? Are they better now? Are they playable now? Are they maybe even potentially dominant now? We don't know. There's so many open spaces to brew in cEDH, and I really like that.
Yeah. That's like one of the things that, and I think we've talked about this a lot, is it's like we do the tier list thing every month, and it's not like a definitive thing. It's like, here are the decks that are showing up
and doing
are
well,
consistently doing well.
Yeah.
And it's like very easy to point to, here are the decks that are doing well and what they're doing and how to combat that. But it's just like, Dyrasius Tymna hasn't been on our lists like at all. And they're still very good. Right? Like, it's just like the amount of things that are viable. You know what? Another one that's out there that a lot of people like, that I've kind of talked like negatively of as far as like seeing representation though, but is a strong deck, is fucking Corvold, right? Like there are cards like that. I mean, hell, Prosh can still even pick up wins in this format. So it's just like the concept that there are 3 decks that are the only decks that are good is just not true. And
for sure.
But you know, it is what it is. I really think this was a fun experiment. Next week, I think we're going to be doing this basically again, with a little bit more prep, probably, because we're going to be doing one on a little bit more niche of a card, and that's Kumena. So keep an eye out for that. Also, just want to say this before we start closing up shop, but guess who you're going to be seeing at MagicCon Chicago? The Sculptybois are going to be live and in person at Chicago, baby.
For sure.
So, MagicCon Chicago, you can expect to see both Ian and I there. And that's going to be a good time. And
I'm excited.
Very excited. We'll probably do if you were seeing this now, and we have made a post on the Sculptybois channel that has happened in between recording and when you see this. But yeah, so we're going to be at Chicago. That'll be really exciting. I will be for sure at the cEDH 5K in Cincinnati is the first week of January.
Something like that. Yeah, I'll probably be there, seeing as January is a pretty quiet month so far.
And it's also like literally an hour away from where I live. So it's like at worst case scenario, we drive an hour. So it's like not a huge deal. So I'll be at that. What do you got going on during December, Ian?
Boy, I don't know. I know there's Chaos this upcoming weekend, which will be last weekend when you hear this, time travel. And then there is some smaller tournaments starting to happen in December, like a lot of things that are like the early stages of the Eminence Invitational qualifiers and all that stuff. I'll be trying to get out to those, a couple in New York and things like that. And I'm excited to do those. I know there's like a Mox Masters the week I had already had plans, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it to that one. But the good thing about tournaments being all the time is that I can afford to miss one or two and still be at a tournament basically every weekend. Which is pretty sick. I mean, I could never have imagined there'd be so many cEDH events. Like even in the weekends where once again I mix like a Mox Masters, like there's still like, oh, there's a New York tournament or there's a smaller Philadelphia tournament or like all of these things. It's like, it's pretty sick.
I mean, this is one of the things that like I've been kind of saying now is I feel like cEDH is just as, if not more, accessible from there are enough events going off as any other format. It is so easy to just go to an LGS and play. And we couldn't say that 2 years ago, right?
Nope.
Like, granted, that was also because we were in the middle of a pandemic, but like, you know.
No, I mean, the format's growing. It's great. And it's a great time to make content for it. I'm very happy. And thank you to our Mind Sculptors audience for helping us do that. It's really nice.
Yes. If you want to keep helping us do that, we go to what's the website called?
Well, Callahan, you head over to patreon.com/MindSculptors and do what I do and still have not stopped doing, even though I'm officially a member of this podcast, and support the Mind Sculptors over on Patreon. Even though I am officially a co-host of this podcast, I still support over at Patreon like a dingus. And you can be like me.
I'm a patron of yours. Like, come on.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we literally, I think it's very funny that we work together.
Yeah.
And we both are just like, okay, here's some money.
The funny thing is, what we're effectively doing is just giving Patreon money because they take a cut.
You're not wrong, actually.
We are paying Patreon to physically show support for one another. That is exactly what we are doing every single month.
That's how dedicated we are to the
craft. That's how dedicated we are.
That's a real dedication. You think you are close with your bros? Now imagine paying a third party just so you can show somebody how much you are. It's like getting the law involved. We are basically married.
God.
Like
what? Oh my God. All right. Last thing before signing off. I think this is very important. Patreon, go sign up. You're helpful. You're awesome. You can also find my stuff over at Comedian MTG, yada, yada, yada.
You know, this whole thing that we did today, like he'll do that with you in a coaching.
Yeah. And I won't suggest trick button.
He only does that to me because he knows one that there is a 50-50 shot depending on the day. I might say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is, after we have this lovely debate with Cam of Play to Win, where we go over all the important stuff and really articulate the sort of the difference between cowfolk and minotaurs in Magic, and we use, for example, we use Naga as an example that snakes and Naga can be different, and then WotC listens to the episode somehow on your hard drive and officially changes it so that Nagas are snakes, as if to pull the rug out from underneath.
It was literally, we recorded it the morning they announced that. It was hours after we got done recording. I went and did something else, and then I saw that all over my Twitter, and I was just like, well, fuck me.
You know who it is? It's the Atraxa players. I don't know how they're listening. They're just trying to take away. They're trying to invalidate our points any way I can.
So what you're saying is that there's an Atraxa player
Yeah.
who works at Wizards and
Uh-huh.
has it out for us. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And somehow, I don't know how, but they got access to the recording of our tier list episode.
Yep.
And just were like, we're gonna fuck with them.
Why are they Seth Rogen?
Well, you see, I look like Seth Rogen, and a lot of my voices just end up being like variations on Seth Rogen.
Nice.
So, you know.
I was literally trying to think, okay, like, how do I attempt to interrupt doing the Jurassic Park's theme song, but make it Seth Rogen? So it's like, all right, this has been the Mind Sculptors. See you later.